So I'm so pleased to welcome tonight's guests, Rick Sharp. Anybody that's been in Santa Barbara for a while has probably seen his art somewhere around the town or somewhere in a magazine. You know, growing up with this art in my generational lingo, everything that Rick did was either bitchin' or gnarly. I mean, it was just, he was the cool dude. Logos like Sims, the skateboards, Channel Island Surf, Surf and Wear, Blast from the Past. Even did some art for the movie Big Wednesday, I remember. And I have to say that this book, that we're so pleased to have it, it's not only a nice book, but it's probably the coolest book we've ever hosted an event for, too. So Rick Sharp, he's a self-taught artist who specialized in poster art executed in a flowing linear style. In the 1970s, he was commissioned to create concert poster calendars, movie posters, magazine ads, book covers, logos, postcards, t-shirt designs, and album covers. His posters were popular in Southern California, where they appeared throughout the 1970s. Later in his career, Rick became Hawaii's premier vintage poster artist. His image of classic Hawaii are still prominent throughout the islands. So please welcome the Jackie Robinson of the art, Rick Sharp. Couple questions.
That check's coming tomorrow.
All right. 75 cents, don't forget. A couple quick questions, and I'll let you go in your talk. And you know, first of all, you dedicated this to your parents, and I wanted to know about their inspiration and how you get started as an artist.
It all started with my grandfather, because he read us fairy tale books, and I was influenced by all the great artists that drew those great illustrations. They were black and white pen and inks, Howard Pyle, Arthur Rackham, all these great artists, and they were always, you know, knights in armor, saving maidens and whatnot, you know, killing dragons. And I just, it's his fault. It's my grandfather's fault, really. That's what happened. And I began to draw all that stuff at an early age. And one day in elementary school, a teacher said, "Well, I hear you're an artist, Ricky. Why don't you go ahead and paint giant bunny rabbits on every door in our school here?" And I was like, "Really?" So, you know, I was her age, and I was painting these giant bunnies on these schoolroom doors. And from that moment on, I was like, I'm the school artist. And that's how it got started.
That's really interesting. And you've been doing it for so long, yet this is a new book. And I want to know why. I'm glad you started it, but why did you decide to put it all together in a book?
This shirt I'm wearing right here, and I'll now do my little striptease act, is just been produced by Patagonia. As you can see,
With the pattern.
the design. It's called Coastal Abundance, and it's in their new line.
Cool.
So when they contacted me last year, I think it was, they said, "We love your art. Our art department loves your work. You're historic." I'm like, I am. Is that good? Is that a compliment? So yeah, I'm historic, and they were like, "You're still alive." Yeah, I'm still here. I'm functioning well too, as a matter of fact. So they said, "We would like to bring your work that you did in the 70s into our line now." I thought, wow, that's maybe people will like it today. So that kind of started me thinking, well, maybe I should just put them all together and see what happens. And I started to put it together, and my partner Jenny back there, she said, "Just tell the story. Just tell what happened. Just in your own words, tell it." So that's what it is. It's from the day I painted those big, giant doors in the elementary school till the day I left in the 80s, well, right around the 80s, because it was over for me. It really was a decade, only a decade of my poster art being popular, mainly in Southern California, but it did get outside of California. It's just that that was my time. And I knew when it was over, it was time to go. And that's the story right here in this book.
Wow.
So I know with some of these people who've shown up, which is great. I have models here that are in this book. And I marked them in case they showed up. I plan to embarrass them right now. And I have some here, and I have them marked off. I have, starting with male model, I've got Ray here, modeled for the O'Neill poster. Didn't you? Yes. Right, and that's in the book. And I have, basically, these are all people that were living around me in Montecito, who I knew, ran around with. Sally, Brooke, these two ladies here, they were my models. And I've marked them off in here so you can see where they are. Now this is you can't see it unless you have the book, but this is Brooke, and I'm going to show you a photograph of her too, back here, where she appears in this beautiful black and white picture, right there. So if you have a book, you can see her right there, on page 147. That's your claim. And I also have another male model here, Mr. Kim Robinson right here. There he is. Right there, Kim. See, look how handsome he is. That's why he's got his sunglasses. You and Brooke share the same page.
Oh, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. I'm just glad that some of these people showed up because there's the Fiesta posters. We haven't got to that part yet, but I know I have some people here who came all the way because of the Fiesta posters.
Absolutely.
That was a whole nother thing. But I got to find Sally here. Here's, I don't know if you can see Sally in this little picture here. There's Sally right there.
Is that you?
You can see Sally right there on page 81. And there's the May Queen that she posed for. Right there. You give Brooke and Sally a hand for being the model. Still beautiful.
Very sweet.
And when they would model for me, and other ones, I would treat them to the Lobster House. Remember the Lobster House? I'd treat them, and or whatever you want. Just get whatever you want. Halibut, whatever. But when Ray or the male models would come, they'd go, "Yeah, I'll have halibut." I go, "No, chowder." Water, chowder, and that's to go. Right? So I have a passage in here that I thought I'd read regarding when my art did get popular. And it was around about the time that I was living in Montecito, and they just finally did a big article on my poster art. It says, "Look sharp, you'll see a poster somewhere," or something like that. News press article, big, huge front page thing or whatever. So the way the story goes is it came out on a Saturday. And on Sunday, I looked out my window in my cottage in Middle Road, and there was a crowd of people at the gate. And I thought, well, I've made it. This is it. This is what they told me would happen, and here they are. There they all are. They kept pulling up, and they had cameras, and they had binoculars, and they were looking down the gravel driveway. I don't know if you remember, Kim, the long gravel driveway.
I wasn't in the crowd.
You weren't in the crowd.
I remember that drive.
Yeah. So I thought, well, this is great. They finally discovered me, and I'll tell the story right here, but I'm paraphrasing it now. And what happened was I thought, well, I should get ready, put on some nice clothes, get some posters. Maybe they wanted me to sign posters that talked all about my poster art. And so I started to walk down the driveway, thank you. Everybody's out there going, hey. I'm walking down there, I get down to the end of the driveway, and they say, well, can you let us in? I went, no, you just have to stay there. You gotta stay back now, stay back. Well, we won't be able to see good enough if you don't let us in. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I'm right here. Take some pictures if you want to. Go right ahead. I'll sign posters, prints, whatever. Well, we need to get some good photographs and some pictures. Just let us in. No, we're not gonna. It's so rare to see it. And I said, to see what? What are you talking about? To see the hooded warbler. That's been flown in from the East Coast. It's the only time it's ever been in the West Coast. It's in your tree. And I was like, oh, the hooded warbler. The hooded warbler. Yeah. Come on in. Everybody in. I walked back to my cottage and so I wanted to tell one story from the book, but there's a lot of stories in the book. And some of them are, I didn't hold back. So I let it go. And there's stories about where I was living, and Mrs. Moore, you were her trust officer, Judy Kahan here, helped me keep her together with nurses and everything, but it was to keep this beautiful art studio that I had to keep her in good health. And I wanted to, because she was all alone. So we have a lot of stories that we share of, like when her dog died, I went out and got another dog that looked just like it.
We put it in a cat carrier.
Put it in a cat carrier, brought it back and put it on the porch and let it out, and it went right up in, jumped on the couch with her. She goes, oh, Sparky, it's good to have you. Like, where have you been? Just like that.
Just like that.
That's how it happened. But that was to keep my art studio in place, which I had for like 14 years. And we had a good exchange. I lived around the area where I'd like to be. And that was just down the road from the foothills of Montecito, where Mountain Drive was. And those of you who were around Mountain Drive in those days know how wild and what a bohemian place it was. My art was very influenced by all of the Mountain Drive scene. The creeks, the people, everything. And I have found a picture of me during that time that shows how far I went into it. And here it is. This is what I looked like during that period.
With a surfboard.
With a surfboard too. That's what happens when you become a hobbit on Mountain Drive. So.
Do you remember the stairs in the house?
Yeah.
It was a Moody sister house.
Oh, the Moody sisters, yeah, that's right. So there were other books made. This is another book that was made. All my sketches of Santa Barbara. There's another book that was made, and then this book was made during the time period when I was also doing music, and I think you sang on that album too. So everything's in the book, and if you have any questions about anything, most of it surrounded Montecito. There was a place called 80 Acres, which now is kind of an estate area, isn't it, Sally?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Ennisbrook.
Innisbrook, of course.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a fancy place now. You gotta have a key
Yeah.
to get in that gate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a wild place with rolling hills and just beautiful. I used to go up there every day and sketch and play music, and that's all in here. And those of you who were around in that time period, there's some trivia questions like, does anybody remember the copper coffee pot?
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Mhm.
How about the tea house? Anybody remember the tea house?
Yeah.
Oh, that was my favorite, right? Little pillows you sat on and drank tea. And then there was lights on the 101. How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, remember that.
So, Mountain Drive, ended up doing the KTYD, all the stuff for them for 10 years, all the stuff they did.
Yeah.
Started out in the Mesa, ended up in Montecito, and that's how it all happened. So, if you have any questions for me about anything, when I think of the answers, I'll let you know.
What about, can you talk a little about Donovan?
Donovan became a good friend because I was enamored with his music, and then when he met me, I said, I'd like to do some posters for you, and he said, okay, Rick, yes, draw some posters for me. And so I drew posters for him, and then he would take me along kind of like a little mascot. He said, why don't you come along, we're going to the Hollywood Bowl tonight, Rick. Oh, okay. And so I would follow him around, and he would always, refer to me as, do you know the poster artist Rick Sharp? There he is. And I'd go, me? I'm just from Santa Barbara. I don't know. But I became friends with him, and my art and his music kind of went together, and it was a good friendship. He ended up moving to California and to Joshua Tree, and then we spent a lot of time together. And he introduced me to Led Zeppelin. Well, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. And that's where I did a poster for them. And he was the one, Donovan was the one who, when I was meeting them, he was taking the spotlight, the press was around, he was going, listen, Robert, do you know Rick Sharp, the artist? And he's like, I don't know who he is, buddy. Right, I don't know. But, he's making me the star at the time, so that's how humble he was. So that was a great exchange.
Wonderful. I have one more question, then, and we'll turn it over to the audience. Your art elicits a Japanese word, natsukashi, which means it's a wistful nostalgia. And it elicits emotions when I looked at them and I saw again, I look back to my childhood and whatnot. And I just wanted to know what, looking back at your own art and you see it, how does that make you feel?
Wistful.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
That's
Younger days.
where I was at, as they say. I was very much in tune with, and it was a 70s thing, really.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, posters were prose written, all float with the wind and the trees and the breeze, and that people put these big posters up, and that was what we did. And so I just came along at that time when I was tuned into nature, and it was perfect timing for me, because any other time period I'd been lost.
Yeah. You had talked about saying within posters. I thought that was, you hit the nail on the head with that, because we don't look at posters the same way we did back then.
Yeah, they were advertisements for everything. And we knew what concerts we were going to go to, we knew what restaurant to go to, or what event was happening, or everything was posters. And that era is gone. Now we're here, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody's interested in these posters outside of our area, but it was really what kind of was at every telephone pole and all around. That's what, I even had the President of the United States get one of my posters. He was, well, Rick, Nancy and I really love your posters. I'm going to scribble right on this original right now with this marker. And I'm like, whoa. Well, if anybody's going to sign a poster, with a marker on my original, it's going to be the President, all right? Go ahead and do that. And he was like, Rags, come here, let's put your paw print. No, I don't think so. Where's my dog Rags, Nancy? But the paw print was out, but he did sign it to the citizens of Santa Barbara with best wishes, Ronald Reagan. And
Where
that was
is
the
it?
only time I let anybody sign that Fiesta poster. Where is it? It's long gone. It's been sold a long time ago. So,
Oh, okay.
got to keep the income coming in.
Understandable. Questions? Anybody?
Well, you'd mentioned that you had designed the emblem for the Channel Islands Airport
That's right.
on the nose.
The logo.
The logo.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really going all over the world.
Thank you. Yeah,
Beautiful.
and also I know you were a good friend Tom Sims, and Sims also I did a logo for him, and that logo is still around today. They're still using that, Tom is gone, has been
Mhm.
using that logo. So
Yeah.
I did do a few logos that stuck around, which is kind of nice to see.
Yeah, the
Andrini
surfboards too, I
surfboard,
saw.
yeah, so-
That's your logo.
That was nice to know they held on to those all that time.
Yeah, just a couple days ago, the contest in South Africa, they had the Almeric with the logo together
Yeah.
that they showed, which was interesting.
Yeah, and back then I wasn't the most shrewd businessman. And when Al said, "Well, how many surfboards do you want to do me a logo?" and I said, 2 or 3, or whatever, I should have said, "I just want a nickel for every time
Every surf.
Oh.
print that on a surfboard." Right?
Yeah.
Just a nickel. He would have gone, "Sure, I'll give you 10 cents."
Yeah.
But who knew, right? So I'm just happy that, I was able to capture it all in one place, and it's right here. And now you can see what it was like to do all that. And some of you were with me during that time and running around with me, and you're all in here. I didn't leave anybody out. You're all in there whether you like it or not. Yes,
Yeah,
Sal.
go ahead.
Question. The Fiesta poster that's in the book where there's 2 and it's the upper one,
Yeah.
is that you? Did you pose that? Was that?
I did. That's a good
Did
question.
you?
I
What
often-
page is it?
Yeah, I often did pose for my own posters. I was one of my own models, so I don't know where
Here
it
it
is.
is, it's page 128.
Yeah.
That's you?
Yeah, it is. I posed it with the Spirit of Fiesta. Linda Cruz, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, yeah, that was me, right there.
Can you
There I
hold
am,
this way? Rick?
with my costume on. Any resemblance there? Viva la Fiesta!
That's great.
So-
Any other questions for Rick? All right, I'll ask one more then. Rick,
Yeah.
how did you get involved with Big Wednesday?
With what?
Well, at that time,
The movie.
that was pretty much at the end of my era when things were, I was known in the area. So when John Milius came through here to film Big Wednesday up at the Hollister Ranch, he put the word out, "Who's the surf artist around here? Rick Sharp. Go get him." And they just came with their limousine and said, "John Milius wants you up at the ranch right now." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll go." So I got driven up there and went into this trailer, and there he was with Gary Busey,
Jan Michael Vincent?
Jan Michael Vincent, and
William Cat?
William Cat. That's right. Thank you. And they're all sitting there, and he had a bunch of guns. He was collecting guns for some reason. I don't know what that had to do with Big Wednesday. Nothing. But Warner Brothers was footing the bill. Whoops. Didn't say that, did I? Take that out of YouTube. And he just said, "Will you do us a poster? We need it for the surfboards. We need it for the movie. We need it for everything. How much?" And I just went, "I don't know, 1,500. He goes, "Write him a check." I could have said anything. Could have said $5,000.
Since it's one of the most iconic surf fiction movies ever made, I think it was fitting that you were part of it.
Recently,
Yeah, I'll have to go look it up.
what is his name? Albert.
Danny.
Denny Albert.
Yeah.
So he wrote the novel. First
Yeah.
it was a screenplay, I think, and then it became then the movie.
Yeah.
And then he went back and wrote the novel. And I was very happy when he came to me and said, "Look, since you did the art for Big Wednesday, do the cover for the book." And I think the book is here. Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think we
it.
still have, yeah.
Yeah, so I did the cover for that, and that was nice to be, sort of all the way around and finished that. Did the novel too, so that was a good thing.
Nice bookends.
A lot of things happened here during that time period. It seemed like it happened fast and quick, and then it was over. And then I was done when the 80s came and it was all graphic art, checks and squares, and Patrick Nagel was the new poster artist, right out of Playboy magazine. Very staunch, black and white, very graphic, and women, no more flowery, floaty flower girls, And that was when I knew it was over. And that's when I just went, well, that's the end. Nobody wanted the little things. Yes,
I have
Brooke?
to say, I love the things that you've done in Hawaii.
Oh,
Your
well, thanks.
painting from Hawaii
I kept on painting, that's for sure.
is beautiful. Yeah.
Nothing quite like the Santa Barbara days. But I do cherish the time that I was here, and I still am here. But that time is come and gone, and someday somebody's gonna see this dusty old book up there on the shelf, and they're gonna go, well, who is this? What is this poster art? Well, I didn't even know there was such a thing going on back then. So it's there, captured all in history. So I want to thank you all for showing up here. Yeah, you have a
Do
question.
you still do artwork today?
Oh yeah, I will always do artwork. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I still paint, and my market is Hawaii, because that's where I ended up and spent 25 years there. So it's pretty much all over Hawaii. But it's not like this art. The stuff I did in Hawaii is all souvenir-oriented travel poster style. And it has its own, value, but this is not like nature, fairies and. In fact, they did another book about me on Mountain Drive, and I found it back there in the thing. It's called Thanks for coming out, everybody.
Thank you, Rick.